So we're going to do this, I'm going to show you how to do this Peacock tumbler. This is with a napkin. I'm going to apologize again, my neighbor's mowing his yard right when I'm doing this. So, this is from, this napkin is from Amazon. So there was a lady in another group who showed a very fast live one night, I swear it was about 3 minutes long, on how to do this, just enough to get the gist. And she said she bought the napkins on Amazon, so I went and bought some. And so you get like 36 napkins, you get 2 of these when you buy them, so these are 16. So you get 2 of these, and 1 napkin can make up to 4 cups. Depends on how many feathers you want to put on each cup. So if you're doing a like a skinny, you might just put 1. So then 1 napkin can do 4 cups. But if you're doing what I did on a 30 ounce, then 1 napkin would do 2 cups. So I have individual napkins for sale on my website. If you guys, yes, Angela, I'm back. So I have these for sale on my website, so I can pop them in the mail if you don't want to buy the whole group. The whole group was like $21 when I bought it. But last time I looked, it was down to like 16 or 17 with Amazon Prime. So that's not bad, but I don't know if I'm ever going to make all of these. So if you guys just want one for like, I think it's like $2.50 or something, 1 or 2, I could pop them in the mail to you. So they're on my website, Rock City Tumblers, because I'm never going to get rid of all these. So, yeah, so these are napkins, just like you would have, you know, at a fancy event, and similar to like tissue paper. If you put tissue paper on a cup, you're going to just use it with Mod Podge. This is regular Mod Podge, and just a soft bristle brush. You could probably use a sponge brush. I haven't tried, but that's the hardest part on this is not ripping the feather, the napkin when you're putting the Mod Podge on. So that's really what we're watching today. So when you get a napkin, you guys ready to dig in? Put these to the side. Feel free to ask questions if you have them. So you want to start with a white spray painted, you know, prep your cup, always prep your cup. Spray paint it white as you can get it. You might try to match the white from the napkin if you can. Don't paint it cream or anything. And then do a layer of epoxy on it, because we're going to Mod Podge onto the epoxy. You don't want to put any glitter or have any kind of like marble or anything going on your base cup. And the reason why is this napkin is white, and if you have any, I'm going to play weatherman again, if you have anything that's different than that napkin, you're going to be able to see that outline where you cut around it, and you can kind of see it there. But after you finish the cup, we're going to put some Cullen or fairy dust, just a hint of shimmer in the last layers of epoxy, so it's going to make it blend really well. So you want to start with your cup, and the first time I did this, I didn't think about it, and I made this cup. I had some just straight up white metallic glitter, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to make my cup this white metallic glitter, and then I'll put my peacock on here. Wouldn't that be pretty? Well, when I went to do it, I realized that it was going to clash, because this, the napkin, what's around it, is white and not glittery. So, I ended up making this a different cup. So, if you're limited on cups, this will save you a shortcut to make it just white, put a layer of epoxy on it. This has been ready for a while. You don't want to sand it. Just put it straight on shiny epoxy. I was going to say something else. I recommend you either do this on a skinny or on a modern curve, because you can see here, this was my sample cup to show you, where I had my most issues with my brush tearing the napkin, which after this is said and done, you won't even notice that. This cup is really gorgeous once you get the bling going, but the napkin struggled a little bit to lay flat on that weird bump. So if you had a modern curve, you're not going to have that issue, or a skinny really wouldn't have that issue. So that's what I've learned when I'm making these. Can I see the texture of the napkin? That's a great question. Not really. I mean, there is a hint. Let's see if I can get it without. So the napkin itself really isn't textured until you get to the side. Over here on the side, there's some, see that quilting? So the middle of the napkin doesn't really have any texture at all. It's kind of like just toilet paper. I don't know why I just looked over like I have toilet paper. I don't have toilet paper in here. So that would be the only place I think that you would see. And like right here is this little border. See that little gold border? That was right there where I didn't cut the gold border off. I could have trimmed that off. But you don't really notice it when you're glancing at the cup. And so I'm trying to look. Like there is a little hint of where it's not paint, where it's napkin. Sorry. But it's not so much that I would try to fight with a giant water slide instead of doing this. See, these are so big. That's what's the beauty of these, is they are so large that a big water slide you would fight with, and you would have to spray paint it, or if you had, I guess if you had laser, you wouldn't have to do the clear coat. So so these work really nice. They hold up just long enough to get the Mod Podge on them, and they look real pretty. So I would say no, you can't really see the texture of the napkin. You can tell where the napkin was there versus where the paint is. Let's see if I can keep it still. So see, that's where the corner of that edge messed me up. So I would not do another one of these, or I would be even more careful. I would do my modern curves or skinnies. So around this, kind of like an offset, is the napkin itself. So you can kind of see where it is, but again, it's not, I mean, it's, as long as your cup is white, and I usually use, I think a Krylon white, sometimes Rust-Oleum white, but just make sure you've got plenty of coats on it, and you don't have any of the silver from the cup showing through. But I don't see any kind of real napkin texture in there. So this already has a coat of epoxy on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this cup here, and I'm going to show you how to put at least one, if not both, of these on here. Okay, so when you get a napkin, there are 3 layers to these. Some of them, you're welcome, Tiffany. Some of them only have 2 layers. But this particular pattern from Amazon has 3. So you can do this with other napkins. You don't have to just use the Peacocks. I've been looking, and I've put a few in my wish list, but I haven't really found any that I love. I think Angela or Martina, somebody has a bunch of napkins that they're ready to use. So you can do this a couple of ways. You can separate it now. You can cut it and then separate it. It's up to you. So this was the other half of this one. Because with one napkin, you can do up to 4 cups, depending on how many feathers you want on each cup. So I'm going to take this one. This one, I believe, still has all the layers. I may have peeled one layer off already. I think I already peeled a layer off. Okay, so I'm trying to think of what this is like. Just, I guess, peeling, you know, when you have to peel the backing off your decals. How thick of a coat should we do after spray? Oh, you're just coating it, not real thick. Just make sure it's coated so you're not putting it on the paint. And I do the bottom because the size of this goes all the way from the top to the bottom. So if you were gonna tape it, if you tape your bottoms, let's try to see here. You might have a little bit of room on this 20 to tape. You would definitely have some room on the 30 to tape. But I go ahead and do the bottoms on mine. So you want to put the ball in the way. So you're going to want to take the 3 layers off. So I'm going to do a new one so I know I've got all 3 layers. We're going to go ahead and cut it. And you can just use regular scissors, cut there in the middle. These are not good scissors. But when I'm cutting around the feather, I use my tiny little Cricut scissors that we love for everything. I use these. Okay, so this one should have 3 layers, if I haven't already messed with it. So you just kind of have to play with it like you would toilet paper. I'm thinking, so I'm quiet. You're just going to carefully pull it apart. So that's layer number 1. So this napkin has 3. So we don't need this unless you guys can think of anything packaging that you need that for. You can throw that away. You know, you just want it coated. I don't really know how many mils I would use because I usually do a bunch at the same time. But you just want it coated, just so you're putting the napkin on a layer of epoxy. I wouldn't do it super thick, because you know the more you do, the heavier the cup is. You're just doing enough to have a slick surface of epoxy. And if you've got just plain paint, spray paint, then it shouldn't be real thick. So let's see if I can find that next layer. And the listing of the napkin may tell you how many layers or plies it is. Yeah, I see it. And I had them sitting here for a while because I was going to do this live a few months ago. Yeah, there it is. So this might be the hardest part here, is getting these separated. Okay. So see, that's layers 2 and 3. So you're going to carefully separate those. Some napkins only have 2 layers, so don't try to separate a layer that's not there. So these Peacock napkins have 3, at least the ones that I buy from Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and cut these. Although, I don't want to start it again, so we're going to leave it. Starting it was hard. If you don't have fingernails, you might go find someone with fingernails. So, of course, because this is tissue paper, you don't want to have any kind of water or anything anywhere near, because you don't want it to get wet while you're working on it until you're ready for the Mod Podge. Okay, so I have delayered this, so we're down to the 1 layer. Super thin. So you can see how this smaller one would wrap really pretty around a 20-ounce skinny. And then on this side, you could put a real pretty decal that said, like, you know, be your own kind of beautiful, or be a peacock in a sea full of everyone's, or whatever the saying is. Let's see, I got a 30-ounce over here. Let's see if the bigger one would fit. So you would have some room on the top and the bottom. So maybe if you wanted to glitter your rims. So the bigger one would go in a 30. So you could get 4 tumblers from 1 napkin. As long as you didn't mess up the napkin. Which, this is a very fine hand to do this. Alright, so now I'm going to cut around the little feathers. Do the big one first. So remember, you don't want any kind of water anywhere on your surface. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this where y'all can see. So if you want to like trim off just the big chunks, just to kind of get it down, just however you guys do your own method. Be careful not to rip it. So this, you know, your packing tissue paper would have several plies like this. So, you know, imagine that thin. Like if I was to separate this, this paper towel, like this is way thicker than this. So get it, you might wrap your head around how thin this is. This is 1 ply of paper towel. This is one of the 3 plies of that napkin. And you can practice maybe on a Kleenex if you want to kind of get the feel for how to separate one of these before you actually do it. Because if you only have 1 napkin, or you paid a lot of money for them, you may not want to try your luck on the napkin. Okay, so let's see here. It's hard to look and cut. Okay, so these are my little Cricut scissors that I use for everything. And I'm just trimming around the feather sprigs. I don't know what the term for feathers are. So I'm not going to go in this gap and trim around that. That's just too much. You're more than likely to have this part torn off. We're just going around the edge. Wish my phone had survived, because I think overhead would have been easier, at least for this part. And if y'all want me to mail you some, I have these on my website. Just because I have so many that I don't need. You ever cut anything with people watching you? It's kind of hard. Okay, so we're gonna go around the whole napkin like that, and the neater the better. But I'm kind of rushing for you guys, and I'm getting a better mount thanks to Sarah. Sarah showed us a link to a better iPad and iPhone mount. So, I think it's supposed to be here tomorrow. Because the mounts that I have aren't ideal. Sorry, I'm going to be quiet while I trim. And I got some really pretty glitter. I thought I brought it in here. That would be pretty if I put this on a 30 ounce where I could do those rims. So I might do that this weekend. And then I'll have so much other stuff to do. Alright, and my air conditioner's blowing. So maybe turn your air conditioner off while you trim. I swear it didn't take me this long last time. So I'm just trimming it out around it. And so it's up to you if you want to leave that little border from the napkin on. I'm going to trim it off. I think that the feather goes out far enough. Definitely make your own executive decision about that. So the more you go in and out of all of these little things, the more you're compromising the integrity of the napkin, and possibly the harder it's going to be to put it on your cup. So the first time you do one and you're just learning, you might not want to cut in there so much. But afterward, you know, and you feel better, you can go in and get some of that later if you wanted to. I wouldn't get all of it. I would definitely say less is more. I'm cutting some of this. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. take my 30 ounce and my little cradle is in the kitchen. So I'm going to roll up this towel, see if I can use it as a little holder. Okay, so I'm going to lay the napkin on the cap to fit it. So this big one is going to go at an angle. I'm not just going to put it straight up and down. I'm going to put it at an angle. So you're going to have to choose, do you want the top to go off or do you want the bottom? I think I'm going to trim those bottom parts off because that's where that little border is. You see how that's starting to lay around that? Alright, so now, when you are ready to start applying it, you're going to apply the Mod Podge from the middle out. Because, especially if it's on a curved tumbler, it's not going to want to fit on that curve. It definitely doesn't want to fit on this bend, and that's where you're going to have to fight it. And you see where I fought a little bit too hard. Thinning out your Mod Podge might help. I don't think I did. So we're going to just do straight Mod Podge. And these are Talon brushes. Hey Faith. You gotta go to your real job. It's a Saturday. I worked retail for years, so. Hey Angela. Yeah, I love this napkin. Hey Misty. Okay, and the neighbor stopped mowing too, so we're doing alright. So, if y'all can see, so I'm going to press this down, and once you start it, you don't really want to move it because it's so thin. But because it's so thin, that Mod Podge is seeping through it and pressing it onto the cap. So you have to be super light with your strokes, especially after the napkin starts to get wet, or you will tear it. Kind of like a water slide. So you're using the brush to kind of press down the napkin. And you're going to get a little bit of wrinkles. So if you don't want the wrinkles, I would do it on, this is my first time doing it on modern curve. I would do it on straight. I probably should have done it on straight here for you. Thought it was a little bit safer with the modern curve. You're heavy-handed. So that's kind of the challenge, I think, of this too. Is you know, we like challenges, right? Something different. I have a hard time with water slide. I tear up almost every water slide I touch. So, I mean, I feel ya. So yeah, so now I'm having issues here on that curve, and I thought the modern curve would solve it, but it's still not wanting to do that curve either. So once the napkin gets wet, it's real delicate, like Taylor Swift. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. So if you need to walk away from it, you can and come back. If you're having some anxiety with it. So you can see how I'm just going from the middle out. And you're going to have wrinkles, but those wrinkles are fun texture. And of course you won't, once the epoxy's on them, you really won't notice them. And I have seen where people took real peacock feathers and put them on a tumbler, but you have to have the right combination of glue and and getting it sealed right on there, or it just looks like a wet piece of hair. I have a friend that works at the zoo. I wonder if she could get me some real peacock feathers. Because they have some at Joann, but I don't know. So I'm working from the center out because this napkin is flat, and of course the cup is not. So when I did the cardstock a few weeks ago, the cardstock is definitely easier to work with than this napkin. So I didn't put any Mod Podge underneath. I just laid it directly on the dry cup, but it's got epoxy, so the Mod Podge is soaking through the thin napkin and kind of grabbing onto the epoxy. So essentially, when you put your next layer of epoxy on, you're wedging that tiny thin napkin in between two layers of epoxy. That's what you're doing. And I believe I seal it with just clear like Rust-Oleum or Krylon, just to help. But I put a lot of Mod Podge. Once you get this first layer down, you're good. Kind of like with the fabric. You're good. It's just if you keep going back over like those crackle cups, you're gonna tear it. So this is just like a golden talon brush from Walmart. I use this for all of my Mod Podge. Those bristles are soft enough that they're not grabbing onto that napkin and pulling and ripping. Yikes. Yeah, I just did it with my finger. Trying to get y'all a better angle. So, if you've ever ordered turners from my husband, I usually try to throw something fun in the package. And so sometimes I'll throw some metal stir sticks in, or a piece of fabric, or these napkins. Just try to give y'all something fun to play with. Sometimes I'll put a blank tumbler in there. We're really grateful for your business because we know that lots of turners out there. He's been slacking this summer. He's been on break making them. But he's out there making footballs right now. So you see that? So after you put your epoxy on, you barely see those wrinkles. So you're really just worried about getting it on the cup. So I'll trim that extra off. So that one, this was the large, because there's a large and a small. So you can see this large one here is the perfect size for a 30 ounce. So if you had gone in and trimmed all of that little white, can you see how many little chances for ripping off that little straggling piece of tissue would be. So that's why I say less is more on that trimming. when you're trimming around the edges. So that's where it's wanting to kind of poke up because it's a flat napkin on a round. So you can see, since I'm working from the center outward, it's kind of making it lay down. See if y'all could see. I'm gonna mess it up trying to get y'all to see. So yeah, when you tell people that was a napkin, they're just like, whoa. Just gives an extra little piece of conversation, uniqueness. Okay, so I take it back. The modern curve is okay for it. I'm doing a lot better on this one than I did on that harsh bend. See where the harsh bend got me. So this so far has been alright. You just gotta go slow. Kind of let the challenge get you. Don't cut in between those little sprigs of feather too much. It's definitely harder trying to do it where y'all can see it. So when you go back, and if you let it dry for a good hour or so, just like you would fabric, and when you go back over it, be really gentle, because right now you're just barely kind of getting it to soak in, so you still don't want to tear it up on the second go round. So I coat this many times, and the only reason I'm coating it a lot, I don't think it would oil slick because it's so thin, but I don't want to tear it up when I'm rubbing the epoxy with my hand on it. No, it might oil slick. I feel like the epoxy underneath it would maybe just disintegrate it or something before it oil slicked. Alright, so I'm not going to go back over that top part just because it's so wet. I feel like if I keep messing with it, it'll rip it. If you want to practice, try it with a Kleenex first on something. See if you really are that heavy-handed. So it really doesn't take that long, you just have to be real careful. So I'll put 3 or 4 more coats on that, and I might only put 1 feather on this cap so that this side is free for a pretty decal. And I was even thinking about like using some gold foil and making like a slash right there, and then glittering over here or something. You know, so I don't know if it would be like this Y that would be glittered, but I have some really pretty glitter that I want to put. So usually on the ones that I've made, I've put 2. Put the big one and then the smaller one, because they perfectly fit. See right there where they perfectly, and you could still put a decal right here if you wanted to. But if you want to stretch your feather or your napkin out further, you can only put 1. And then you get 4 cups out of 1 napkin. And it's just super cool to tell people that's a napkin. that I put on a cap. Hey, Vicki. Thanks for joining us today. So, so that's how you do that. It's fine. I'm going to set it down. So, less is more. Remember that. Alright, so that's over there. Nothing's going to touch it. So then what I do, after I put the epoxy on, so I'm going to coat that other one with Mod Podge several times until I feel like it's got a good barrier. And I might even spray seal it with some Krylon or Rust-Oleum. So then, just to give it a little bit of added flair, you don't have to do this, but I went through and it may or may not make it better, but I like to pretend I'm an artist. And so I've got this Color Shift paint, I think a Hobby Lobby, obviously, and like, they're the perfect colors for that little middle, and then this is up here. So I took a tiny little paintbrush, like super tiny, and so this is after another layer of epoxy. And I just kind of highlighted those little sprigs. Just like barely any paint, like the paint from the lid. So I'm going to show you real fast. So there's like lines in that. And so that's what you're just trying to kind of accent those lines. But it's really pretty. It doesn't even need it. And it might even make it look worse. I don't know. But I was trying to be all artsy. And if you wanted to add some glitter there, that would be a good. You can even let the paint be your adhesive. Make a mess. So you can see I did that. Just little bitty tiny little umps. But this Color Shift paint is almost the exact color. But you need the smallest of paintbrushes for this. This one's not even the best. It was the only one I could find. And it's kind of frayed. It just gives it, I mean, since it's Color Shift, it gives it a little bit of oomph. But sprinkling some glitter on that would be real pretty. But I'm going to put Cullen and the last coat of epoxy to give the whole thing a shimmer. Yeah. So yeah, Vicki, it's pretty much finished, you know. So you just put whatever decal. So far, no one's even wanted a decal. The cup was real pretty by itself. And I have seen people put real feathers on, and some of them look amazing, and some of them look like wet hair. So, you know, if y'all want to find a real feather, go for it and teach us how to do it the correct way. I haven't tried a real feather. I've only done these napkins. And so this Color Shift is, what color is this? Blue Flash. This one's Blue Flash. And that was the center. I got this at Hobby Lobby. They have it, I think, some of the Walmarts have it. Michael's has it. I mean, the water slide feathers people do are really pretty too. I just, I don't know. Me and water slides are not the best of friends. I need to, but now that I've seen that you can do them reverse, I might have better luck. I also hate having to measure the cap and then make the decal the exact measurement. These are perfect. These napkins are the perfect size. So this is Aqua Flash, and it's a real good color for right here. And so I just go through with barely any paint and a very fine brush and just kind of accent, just little wisps. Help make it a little bit more 3D. And this is on top of a layer of epoxy. I'm not doing this on the Mod Podge. You might be able to, but and you could glitter that too if you wanted to. Glitter some of the sprigs. So some of this color can come up here if you wanted it to. If you're confident, you can trace some of that. You might even get like a paint pen and do it. Since this is on top of the epoxy, if you mess up, you can wipe it off. Oh, sorry, I couldn't see that. Did that up here. But the smaller the brush, the better. But you guys are artists. So this is where if you did rip any of it, you could possibly take your paint and kind of mask it a little bit. But honestly, it's so pretty that I don't think anyone's going to complain if you had a couple of little tears. But that's pretty much it. Just let me know what y'all do with them. If y'all need me to mail you some, these are on my website. Pretty much for just the cost that I have into them and a stamp. So I will send you some out if you need them. Or you get the napkin, you have any questions, feel free to message me. I'm always available to help you answer any questions, or you forget the layers or whatever. So that is the before. This is the after. Very pretty. But see how it hides under the epoxy? Yep. Yeah, I saw a heart go up. Thanks, guys. Alright, well, I will let y'all get back to your weekends.